So I was asking you a tough question about, people going through a crisis, so what should they do? So that's a tough question. And then you answered, some of this spiritual, deeper writing will help you detach from it, and you'll see it from a larger perspective, and that this is something maybe you even set up before this life to help you grow. And
it's very Buddhist in nature. It's not detachment in that you're. It's not detachment in the bad way. It's not like where you're saying you're compartmentalizing something and you go, oh, that's happening, and you disidentify. I mean, it's related, but it's not that type of detachment. It's not like you saying, oh, I'm not even going to, where you just ignore something, I mean, that can be a spiritual thing too, but in the good way.
Yeah.
But then what's the good way? So you have to be honest with yourself psychologically now. Am I just, running from this thing, or in playing the role of detachment where it's like not even facing what's going on? Or am I detached in an empowering way where I'm able to be honest and see what's going on and see what I need to do, but not be so caught up in it that it consumes me, where it makes me have huge trauma and have to go see a psychiatrist.
Yeah, right. Or if you have to, you have to. And
don't see a psychiatrist, go to a psychologist.
And if you
a theosophical one, preferably.
Yeah.
Or turn to some other thing. Okay.
No, keep going. Yeah. So, but as we were saying, so maybe if you can find a writer of esoteric spirituality who resonates with you, and then you start to get comfortable and really acquainted with this idea that, okay, so there's a deeper part of me which is growing from this, which is unharmed by...
And I think there's such a huge, huge need for this in the world because, my gosh, so many people don't understand what's, even why they're even here, or that they're even here for anything.
Yeah.
And, you have religion, but that doesn't really give you any answers. I mean, no offense, but to me anyway. So many people just live their life pursuing the normal desires and things, but okay, we can do that, nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of like, what matters to you? If there's something that matters to you more than just the worldly world, then well, it's here and people can study it, but I think where the real need for it is in people don't understand why things are the way they are, why things are happening in a world level, in their societies, and in their own selves. Why people are the way they are. I think if we had true understanding, we wouldn't have wars. We wouldn't have a lot of the conflicts that we have. If we really understood our true natures. And then you got to get into that mask thing you were showing, Let's bring up the mask. Oh, what have you done with it? Oh, there it is.
So there's this.
Yeah. And then there's that. Yeah.
And they're both.
And there's this.
And there's that. Right?
And if people understood, we're very dual creatures.
Yeah.
We have a lower self. Ooh, how horrible. A lower self. Ooh, that can be, influenced by a lot of things that we don't consider good.
Yeah.
And we can, if we allow those influences to be dominant, they're not really us, but yet we can do things and treat people in certain ways and that are, not good on a whole for everybody. And I could go on, but I shouldn't say that though, because you're going to make me. But what I'm saying is that if we really understand our dual nature, our lower self, if we, we don't necessarily want to identify with it, but if we know it's there and we see that we have these urges and inclinations and vices, don't dwell on them. They're not really you, but, if you understand it and why that is not you, if you understand that's not you and that this is just an influence, whether astrology, that's one of my main studies now. I'm really starting to get into is astrology and how, it affects us depending on what level we allow it to. It can affect us if we just go with our lower nature self, then, let's say Mars might make you violent in some respects or something. But if you say, well, I don't have to respond to it in that way, and then Mars might make you very passionate about studying theosophy or something like that, you know. So it's, you know, if we have that understanding, we'll understand other people so much and not reject them, and we'll say, oh, well, he's just acting out this because of whatever, you know. And,
Yeah.
and if we understand their rays.
And so
And I'm very, you know, passionate about the rays too, in the psychological influence.
You want to talk about the rays a little bit?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
7 rays.
Seven
7
rays.
everything.
It's in Theosophy, and of course Alice Bailey.
Yes, Alice Bailey really goes into the rays, and there's a lot of other authors that have kind of branched off of that, but I would consider Bailey more of the original, besides the Secret Doctrine, original. You know, she really expounds upon and goes deep, as you know, into the rays. So if you really want to study the rays, you can go, you know, wherever you want. But anyways, ray 1 was basically 7 rays. First ray, will or power. I'll just do a very brief. Every person we're multiple. We're not just one ray. It's sort of, and it is very linked with astrology, but it's not necessarily one-on-one. You can't say, oh, if you're an Aries, and Aries is dominated in one way by the first ray, well, you must be first ray. You know, it has that influence, but doesn't mean you are first ray. So, but anyways, you opened up a can of worms. You don't know what you've done. I'll try to be brief without rushing. So, will or power, it has influence over politics, supposedly. You know, this is all, I'm just gonna, you know, paraphrase. So, I mean, don't take my word for it, read it or whatever, you know, come to your own understanding, but.
Just to step back for 1 sec. So every individual has a dominant ray, though. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
well, we can say you have your monadic ray, or atmic self, a soul ray, or your Buddhi nature, and your personality ray, or your... And the personality ray is a composite, because our personalities are multifaceted. We have a physical body, that's part of our personality to a degree. Our emotions, our emotional body, or what do they call it, kama, rupa, or something? Yeah. if I need to use Sanskrit terms, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Your monastic body or mental body, Sanskrit monastic, and you have 2 parts of that, higher and lower mind. So, each of those has its own ray. In my opinion, from my study of it, I would have most people have either a 7th or 3rd ray physical body, and the differences are, 7th ray is called ceremonial order or law, and it likes cycles, it likes rhythm. So people that like to sleep on a regular sleep pattern, like to have everything organized and rhythmic in their life, and if it's, you know, that's just a general thing for 7th ray, but now if you're going to apply that to your physical body, then you do better when you have a regular sleep pattern. And for me, I think that applies to me. Where if you have a 3rd ray physical body, you can sleep anytime, anywhere, it doesn't bother you, you know? You can sleep in the middle of the day, you don't have to have that rhythm. But now 3rd ray applied to your personality is going to be different than how it affects your physical body. So shall I continue with it? So 2nd ray is called love wisdom. You know, that's like a coin. One side, if you get really deep into love, it's synonymous with wisdom. So it's kind of a difficult thing too. But it characterizes education, study, healing. Teachers, a lot of teachers have 2nd ray souls, because, you know, and then also you have to determine at what evolutionary level someone is in consciousness to what their predominant. You know, if you're sort of an evolved person, your soul ray is going to have more influence on you than if you're a very, how should I word this? I don't want to use the word negatively. You know, if you're not so, I don't like these terms of evolved, you know, putting people in. Yeah, but if you're worldly, very worldly, then perhaps your personality ray is going to be more prominent in your expression.
Sure.
Yeah. So, higher self or lower self. So, you know, you can, yeah. So we only started the 3rd. 2nd, let me just briefly continue. 3rd ray is active intelligence. It's very mental. It likes to figure things out. It likes to investigate, but not to be confused with the 5th ray. It's very mentally, oh, no, I'm gonna stop. It's it likes research, but in a not so concrete way, because that's fifth ray. Fourth ray, harmony through conflict. That's more of a difficult one to explain because it's very broad, and I am giving just a very brief, from my own limited, you know. Fourth ray, painters, artists, musicians, drama actors. Can all the characters for fourth ray, and fifth ray, the scientists, the nuclear physicists, the people that really study the concrete building blocks of nature. Sixth ray, devotion, idealism. It's the religious, can be the religious person that's so devoted to God or higher self that they devote their whole life to it, or devoted to anything of you know, really strong, one-pointed. Seventh ray, like we said, ceremonial, order, magic. So, anyways, that's just a brief. If you really want to get into it, it can get pretty interesting.
But generally, what appeals to you about approaching understanding with this paradigm with the race?
Well, from my study of it, I'm starting to see how it influences, you know, my own self, other people, and I can start, you know, I can understand more where they're coming from and accepting their differences. Well, you know, he's not like me in that way. You know, he's just acting out this other. And astrology goes right in that way too. You know. So. Yeah. And I think if we understood that dynamic, that would help us for greater peace. Because I think peace can come through understanding.
Mm-hmm. And
I shouldn't have drinking that little bit of coffee. Yeah.
Just now you did during the break.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, this
just
tiny bit. The second half of this interview.
I watered it down a lot.
Still.
But I don't have food, so now I'm
like. Right. So that's the harried, frenzied, scattered.
And normally I don't drink coffee.
Right.
Which is surprising for a trucker not to drink coffee.
Do you have any kind of stimulant on the road?
Mate tea.
Okay.
I'm not going to do a plug for Amazon herbs, but yes. I like herbs, herbology, herbs, yeah, healing.
So, what are some of your favorite books?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, besides the whole Alice Bailey set, Henry Steele Olcott's Old Diary Leaves.
Why do you like that?
I had just the first two, and I discovered them for 2 volumes online, and I loved. First off, they give you a history of the Theosophical Society if you really want, you know, a first-hand history of what was going on and how they formed. Read those. And I really did want to understand the history of this society started by, you know, and some amazing stories in there. Oh my gosh. But then I discovered very recently, looking through the Quest catalog, there's 6 volumes. And I've only read 2.
So you've got the other ones now.
I've got the other 4 now. I don't know when I'm going to find time to read them, but I have them, and I'm curious, what's it that other, you know, what have I missed, you know? And then the Mahatma letters, Madame Blavatsky's letters to Senate, like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And Voice of the Silence.
Mm-hmm.
And Stanzas of Dion. I have the audios of those, and I downloaded them from the Theosophical website. I don't know which one. There's so many websites, you know.
I know what you're saying. I think we have an audio CD too, an audio cassette version of somebody, reciting those.
Yes, and I would listen to that while truck driving.
Wow.
And I think there's that 28-year cycle thing. I listened to it over and over and over again, and it was so, you know, for me it was helping with some type of inner thing going on, and I just like, oh yeah, you know, there's a few words I didn't quite understand, and had I, you know, had the physical book, then I could look up. I think there's like a little footnote what that word means, and I have the physical book now, but at that time I just had the audio, and that's a great little book.
Yeah.
You know, it really explains the path, basically, process we're on. Yeah, it goes through, you know, it's got some difficult words and terms, but if you can get past that and understand what they're meaning with those, It's a great little thing, and if you're going through this dark night of the soul process or whatever, that book is gonna, I think, help you a lot.
And then you mentioned in the pre-interview that you also are a fan of Eckhart Tolle.
Yes.
And what appeals to you about Eckhart Tolle's teaching or approach?
And we also mentioned that I thought he was very similar to Krishnamurti.
Oh, speaking of that, right.
Yes.
Right. Okay, and go ahead.
And Krishnamurti, I haven't listened to him for a while, but I really enjoy some of his speaking as well.
And what do you like about their approach?
Well, I'm going to change it a little bit.
Okay.
What do I like about their voice?
Okay.
Both of them, just through their voice, Krishnamurti and Eckhart Tolle. Just if you listen to their voice, and it may be somewhat of what they're saying, but in their voice seems to carry this quality of what they're saying in a way that it creates more inner peace, I've noticed. And I can say for Ed Abdel something similar, and I even mentioned that. I think I called him
in the pre-interview.
I called him a little bit Krishnamurti-like in that, because I've listened to some of his audios while driving as well that I downloaded from the website. I wish I knew the titles of them now. Why didn't you get the titles?
I can put them in the interview.
It was like the sacred gateway, the sacred way or path, and then there was one about the masters and the path, and he talks one where he says, and Velasquez says, there is a path. I don't want to try to mimic him, but nevertheless, there is a way, and he spoke slowly, and it's like he was coming from an true inner understanding when he spoke about it, and you got it through his voice too, and that's similar with Eckhart Tolle and Krishnamurti. So I would throw him in there with the other two.
Good company.
Yeah. And I'm very thankful that is available online.
Yeah, we have a lot available online, and if we have a lot of talks by Ed, excellent talks. He's also one of my favorite speakers. And if it's not online, we have it at the library here. So become a member of the library if you're not. And now, when you're in the truck, how do you nurture a sense of spiritual community with your situation?
I don't.
Yeah, but you know what? But you know what? You have an opportunity now because you have the internet.
Yes.
And we have many webinars here,
Yes.
not just the Mahatma letters, but many.
Yes.
And you can join us live if you care to.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's also some Alice Bailey webinars I attend too, which I didn't mention. So.
Okay.
Yes, webinar familiar.
And
sometimes, the thing with a webinar is you have to have internet for the, for the video part. And if I'm driving and I'm losing signal. Okay.
What is your biggest spiritual challenge?
Ooh. Currently, or wow.
Currently.
Man, you are getting tough.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I've gone through so many,
Well, what is your, even stepping back?
Okay.
What does your chart say that your spiritual mission is in this incarnation?
Wow, that's something I've been contemplating for quite a while. I don't really know from this point forward, but from this point back, I can say there's something to do with having a really deep understanding of esoteric wisdom, ageless wisdom. And for some reason, it seems really important. And for some reason, I seem like I really have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. But,
Right.
And what that's going to lead to in the latter 2/3 of my life, we'll see.
Yeah.
But there's something really important in that. And and also, understanding, my nature and, why really, and I think astrology is going to help me a lot in that when I get deeper into that, because I've just started to get the iceberg of that. So far it's been study, contemplate, study. You can't just study forever. You got to contemplate. You got to digest it, And those breaks I have had, nothing, not that nothing was going on, because I can look back 5 years. I'm so much different now than I was 5 years ago. I mean, I look the same, but I'm not thinking the same.
Right.
I'm not experiencing the same.
It's very interesting, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. Just even a few years ago or you know, it's all this. It's like a flower unfolding or something.
When you think of yourself when you're going through that period at 13 or 14 and then 21, what does that make? How do you feel when you look back at that at that part of you?
I see how different I am now than from then, and
that's,
I also see it as a I think it's recapitulation. Is that the right word?
I think so.
Because I know they were saying some people.
Review?
I definitely see this cycle that I
Yeah,
went through
I see.
things.
I see.
I recapitulated, I think, multiple lifetimes.
Yeah.
Not.
Oh.
I recapitulated certain challenges that we go through in past lives. You know, like let's say we have a past life, and in that life, our major thing to learn in that life was overcoming how to deal with anger or how to deal with something, you know, like that. And I can see these stages where I've had to re-go through all of that to get to
right.
where I am now. If I'm
Right.
still going through that, I don't know, but
Right.
I definitely can see a
Yeah,
recapitulation of.
recapitulation.
Yeah.
Right.
And a
right,
lot of these
right.
stages are short. You know, you just go through them sometimes a couple
Right.
months, sometimes a few years, and
Yeah.
until you get it, and then there comes another one after a while. You know?
Yeah, and then you were saying in the pre-interview yesterday that you discovered some very helpful shortcuts to bypass suffering and karma,
I did.
and that you were going. Oh wait, no, that was somebody else. So what do?
You thought you had me there. You thought I was gonna go on, and that's it.
No.
I mean,
Oh, all right. So how do those concepts fit into your
well, now you got me
spiritual?
thinking about that shortcuts.
No, I don't think we want them, right? Because how in your
But there might be shortcuts. What do
yeah,
you think?
but that's looking at karma as a bad thing, and karma, however challenging it is, I think is as one of the speakers yesterday was saying, is ultimately merciful because
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because
It's through that
take-
challenges that we grow in consciousness.
tough love,
Yeah.
tough love situations, right? So how do reincarnation? Because you talk about reincarnation being part of your
Yeah.
consciousness even as a little kid.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I had no fear of death.
Really?
No fear of death. When I was 7, I would think about it sometimes. I didn't have it's not even the slightest fear of death.
Mm.
I didn't know why. It's just, you know. But then as you grow older and your analytical mind gets more going, you know, then you are a little bit, you know. But
Yeah.
and I found that now when I think about it, I see it as a little bit. Well, I wouldn't call it strange, but
Oh,
you know,
strange.
I could have like, you know, if somebody had to go or whatever, like, oh, I'll do it, you know, no hesitation at all. It's like no big deal. Might be a little bit perturbing.
We don't want to take that out of context, do we? So, talk about national security issues. No, I know.
Okay, I mean for an altruistic reason, like
Right,
if I had to go
right,
save
right,
whatever,
right,
you know.
right.
I used to when I was little. You would be amazed what goes on in some kids' minds,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
Like, oh, if I had to save somebody or whatever, and I had to, you know, do something that would cost my own, you know, physical form, then, yeah, no problem, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so
I think actually little kids may come with that innately until just as like a subconscious
think you're
understanding.
right.
Yeah,
I
and
think
then
you're
we're
right.
taught differently or something. But that'd be an interesting study if we kind of interviewed 5 and 7-year-olds.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
right, and there's a lot of great stuff coming out even more recently about reincarnation and children's memories. You just sparked this question in me. A lot of times mystics talk about the mystical experience as remembering something, And have you had that experience when? Well, actually, I'm going to ask you to share because you've had in the pre-interview you mentioned that 2 mystical experiences, and even the one that you called lesser, I thought was fascinating. And would you talk about that a little bit? About
Which
first
one?
first
The
of all, would you
lesser
talk about the lesser one, and then
Oh, the lesser one.
yeah, quote unquote. lesser one.
There's been some earlier when I was younger, but I guess they don't. Either I don't remember them as much because they're older, or they were paled in comparison to maybe more modern, newer experiences.
And just 2 weeks ago, you had a very
Yes, I was traveling in the truck, and well, I had seen the exhibit, the bodies, which I'm sure a lot of the viewers are familiar with and probably have seen, or maybe not have seen. But it was, I guess, a touring exhibit. You
Yeah.
know, it would go from city to city, and since we were always moving, I never got to see it. And I'm not necessarily going to go into a little bit of my childhood of why. Well, I can if you want to. But
are you hinting at the early tendency you showed to cut up animal bodies? Is this what you're hinting at?
Yes.
Okay.
So I've always, not always.
You grew up on a farm. Let's make that clear.
Yes. Yes, we got a farm and we had lots of farm animals, and of course the animals die for various reasons, and that's why I did learn responsibility from a young age, taking care of animals. But anyways, so sometimes we had pigs, and I would.
Yeah.
I would, not dissect them. I would.
What were you doing then?
I would cut them open
Sure.
and look at the inside of their body, and because I wanted to see what was going on, and sometimes one might have worms or something.
Right. I guess.
And,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think the question then is going to be on anybody who's lasted this long in the interview. Where were the adults at this point? What?
They didn't care.
Sure.
My brothers thought I was nuts. Like, is there something wrong with her? But they thought it was gross and creepy and whatever. But I thought it was fascinating because I wanted to see what was in there. What made all this work. So I did have that curiosity. So I didn't enjoy, the cutting, but
You had to do it.
I didn't bother me.
Yeah.
The only thing that the only thing that might bother you is sometimes smell. But if you do it in the early morning hours when everything's cold, there's no smell.
Little advice. So early morning hours.
Yes, and I was 7 or something, or 8 or 9. I got some pigs, and then later on we had cows, a full-grown cow, and we would allow that to decompose naturally far away out in the field somewhere, because you don't. I mean, so I guess if you're in a close urban area, then you have to take it and they dispose of it properly. But this was so rural, you just take it far away and you let the coyotes and nature, decompose. And so we'd have this big. Now I'm a little bit older, so I had done some of this when I was like 9 or so, and now I'm like 12, 13, 14, somewhere. Even when I was 15, 16. No, not really 16. 13, 14. And the cow's got 4 stomachs. You know that?
There's a lot there, isn't there?
Yes, and so I would dig around in there.
Sure.
I can't believe.
Of course you would.
Oh my gosh. It was, to me, it was a wonder. It was like a universe. It's like this whole, amazing thing with all these. I'm just keep thinking about how people are reacting to this. I'm like, but, it's just an amazing exploratory thing, But once I got to see it a couple times, or 4 or 5 times, it got boring after a while, so I stopped.
Okay. But then more recently, a couple weeks ago,
Now, okay, yes.
Yeah, you
saw. So what are we talking? Okay, 15 years later or something like that, yeah.
And you again were fascinated with the way this vehicle
No, that was
worked.
only animals.
That was only animals, right? That was only animals. You were a farm kid.
Yes, exactly.
And then more recently you went to this bodies exhibit, which is from a worldly perspective, maybe even off-putting, but you had an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're going to human bodies, so
yeah.
My dad said to me, well, you like looking at animal things. I'm sure you're going to love this. So he's teasing me about that. And, so it was at the Luxor. Can I say that? Or
yeah.
Okay. It was at the Luxor in Las Vegas. And I saw this billboard we're driving by. It said banned except for in Vegas. So
wow.
And at that time, we didn't have time to go stop, so we just drove by, and I'm like, oh, I want to see that, because I had wanted to see it before, and then they sort of like stopped showing it, right?
I didn't know that.
I thought, you know, apparently there's some type of political about the origins of the people, you know, that somebody were getting offended.
I heard some controversy. It
Yeah.
toured through Chicago. I know, like last year, but anyways.
I'm not sure it's touring anymore
Oh,
except
okay.
for Vegas. So
Okay.
anyway, so I was like, oh, you know.
Mm.
But then, fortunately, somehow, you know, we are able to go right back through there, and we have the evening off. So we somehow find parking for the big old semi. You know, we go down a road that says no trucks allowed, but nobody bothers us. So, and then I walk over there, and on my way walking there, I see 3 monks. Actually, 4 Buddhist monks
Really?
on the sidewalk. And they are going to the one just before, and now I'm deviating. I'm being like Madame Blavatsky here. Sidetracking. But I find it interesting that I'm walking there, and in front of me are these monks, and they're in their Buddhist robes and stuff, and I say to one of them, I like your robe, you know, to open up conversation.
Yeah.
And he's from the United States, but he was just got back from Burma, and he said, I brought my master here from Burma to show him
Oh.
Las Vegas, apparently. And his master was not in robe, but the 3 were.
Yeah.
So anyways,
Yeah.
we part our ways, and then I go on to my exhibit.
No, it's very interesting. Please.
Yeah, okay. It's kind of interesting, monks visiting Las Vegas, but, you know.
Yeah, and monks visiting Las Vegas is bizarre, right? And then just before you're going into this, like, you know, right, confrontation with death, you see part of you see the Buddhists, and this is part of their archetypal journey.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's some type of symbolism
Mhm.
perhaps in there. I get my tickets, and well, that could be a story in itself. But other than that, I go through the exhibit, and all right, I'll tell a story. They have this special see 2 shows for the price of 1. You know, but I had gotten there kind of late, so the last showing of the bodies was at 9, and I couldn't quite fit in 2 shows because I want to utilize my time while I'm there. So anyways, so I end up go ahead and buying 2 shows because, you know, they're cheaper than buying a single show, and I definitely wanted to see the magic show from, maybe I shouldn't say his name because then I don't know, copyrights or whatever. He might not want to be in the same
okay.
video talking about animals being dissected. But anyway, it was a famous magic show that goes on there. They'll know who I'm talking about. He's on YouTube. I already mentioned him earlier.
Okay.
Anyways, oh yeah, so, you know, there's this other show I sign up for, and they're overlapping. So I go to the body show. I was like, well, whatever time left, I'll go to the other show, and then I'll see my magic show.
Hello. Hi, Dan.
Hey.
Don't take her to the basement. You won't be able to come out of there anymore. She will
This is good.
take a photograph of every book. So beware.
Pablo Sender.
That was good. That was good. Oh, now do we need to digress to explain what he just said?
He said, "Don't take her to the basement."
That I will take photographs of every book there, and you'll never get out. So,
That's a compliment.
okay, and that's what we did yesterday, and I made him late for the.
Oh, you photographed every book?
Not every book, just those that had some interest.
What were we? Oh,
Yes, okay. See, we're very much like Blavatsky. We deviate and we digress, and then we come back to the original. Okay. So I go through the exhibit. They start off with the skeletons, you know. They're real skeletons. They're not like the ones you see in the science thing. And I look at the bones, and the bones are actually very hollow. You know.
Really?
Yeah. They're very lightweight
light?
and hollow. I didn't lift one up. They told don't touch, you know. So we were told, and they got cameras watching you, so I didn't want to get kicked out, so I wasn't going to, like, start touching things and feeling
But you did? How do you know they're hollow then?
because they showed a cross
they
section.
show. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen the exhibit?
I think I was. I didn't go. We went to a museum when it was there, and it was expensive, and I think it was sold out for that day, and I think I was scared.
You were scared.
I think I was glad that it was sold out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I know my brother had seen it, and I asked him about it. You know, he said a little bit creepy, but
Yeah, I thought it was creepy.
it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
I don't have that creep factor. Well, as you can imagine, you know,
Growing up on a farm.
cutting up with dead animals, yeah.
Yeah. But what else happened? What happened towards the end?
Okay. So we're going through the exhibit, and I'm looking out, and there's a family there from Dutch family from the Netherlands, and I recognize their accent. We have a lot of Dutch people here today. Very interestingly, and they are fascinated. They're reading every little plaque, and they have their daughter, she's like 13, and their son is like 18 or something, and their daughter's reading everything, and they don't have any creep factor at all. They're enjoying this greatly. See, this is where I come in and say that Europe is more mentally, not mental in a bad way, but
Yeah.
versus America's like, ooh, that's kind of
Yeah,
creepy.
right.
They're like, yeah, I want to see what that's about, So there's a little bit of difference. There's an example, perhaps. Not saying that American, it's generalizations, Anyways.
So, Madam Rose, you, however, eventually this starts to affect you.
Okay,
on psychological.
Okay. So should I make this short or long?
I think that decision was made a long time ago, don't you?
Yeah, it's turning out to be quite long. So I start looking and I see that they have the eyes, and a lot of times eyes, they put like marbles in there,
Yeah.
So I'm looking now, these are real eyes or these marbles?
Yeah.
So I started intently staring into the eyes of one of these, and they have their different layers. There's no skin on these bodies, they're just the muscle, and they show different layers, so you can see some of the organs, some of the other parts, some of the cross sections of the head, skull, brain, and okay. Well, anyway, I think this guy was just all the muscles. Okay, so I started staring into his eyes. He did have a little bit of eyebrow hair, which I found weird.
Very realistic, yeah, and weird.
Well, it was real. That's the thing.
Realistic,
Yeah.
Right. Can't get any more real than that, right?
I started looking into this body. I'm not going to call it a person. I'm going to call it a body. 'Cause that's what it is. Into the eyes, and then I start thinking how people say the eyes are the gateway to the soul, and because what else is there of a person that you look at besides something deeper than their form, and I just start thinking about it, and it dawns on me like, this is real. This is a real body. This was a real person at one time. It's not a mannequin. It's not something they glue. And I start to get teary-eyed because I start thinking like, this was the vehicle that inhabited a soul, inhabited this, whatever it is we call a person, And then you start thinking like, I'm looking at it and I've seen, well, where is it in there? How did it get in there? Just the process of how does this energy field or center or being we call a soul, or whatever term we want to use, inhabit that? How does it get in there? And I know the whole technical process of the etheric body, but it really brought home to me that we are these energy beings, and we somehow excuse me, incarnate in a form, and I didn't discover anything new because it's already what I've been knew and thought, but it was just having that distinction right there in front of you, and I've never seen a non-living human being before, so it really just brought home to me that that's that, and you're you or some other person, like they're so different, so it's like, what makes a person, not what makes, it's just it really just, for me anyway, it really just brought this stark difference between basically we're not the form, we're just some type of energy thing that's got all these amazing qualities and functions, but qualities, that, wow, and so that was quite moving for me, right? Got a bit emotional about it at the time, and then I go through the exhibit, and then I go right into my next thing I bought the ticket for, which was a musical, and there's these 4 women on the stage, and they're all dancing and singing and stuff because it's a comedy musical, and everybody's all clapping and laughing, and I'm in this other zone, so I'm just like sitting there, and it was just, I was just in awe. I was just in awe, I was.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's a beautiful thing when a person is. So anyways.
Thanks very much for sharing that. Usually people try to say no, and I respect their privacy, and with you I decided not to respect your privacy.
I gave you permission. So you know what it's done is it's changed the way I look at somebody.
Yeah.
You know, I knew before when I look at somebody, oh, they're not their form, you know, but it's changed when I was looking at those women on the stage, you know. I can never see somebody the same way again.
Yeah.
You know, it really...
Yeah.
I didn't cry like this in the exhibit. What am I doing on camera? Oh my gosh. I didn't want to get kicked out because I thought if people saw me crying, they'd be like, oh, she's, you know, whatever, you know, can't handle, you know, whatever.
She can't handle comedy.
No, I mean, the
bodies.
bodies.
The bodies.
Yeah.
I thought you
No.
oh, so before you went
yeah,
to the
I started to get a
musical.
little bit, you know,
Before-
emotional. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I better, you know, not let anybody see this because they might think I'm having some type of sympathetic reaction to, you know, whatever, you know.
The
nobody-
human condition.
Yeah, or something, I don't know. But, you know, I saw it from, you know, a
Yeah.
spiritual point of view as something really beautiful. You know, it's just so, like, you know, the whole process and everything. It's a wonderment, but it's also something deeply, you know, so. Okay.
Yeah. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Now.
And that was recent, so.
That was recent.
Yeah, that was only like that was on the 31st, July 31st.
And we were worried there would be no energy because of the pre-interview. Right?
Yeah. Anyways.
And then you had one that you call.
A, not the A.
Oh,
I did use the
you
word
had
the.
another A.
I did use the word the, but
The.
perhaps A would be different. Oh my gosh, you're really putting it to me, aren't you?
Yeah.
Now this one is quite interesting. And this one is, let's see what year cycle this would be. You know, I think maybe 27 or 20. It's close to that 28 thing, but I think a little bit before then. So I don't know if this is a cycle or something or not. But
Yeah, but you know how they say, like in astrology, and they say those are just ballpark
yeah,
marks,
yeah.
year marks.
So I was going through a crisis.
Okay. Yeah.
At least I wasn't when I saw the bodies. I was not a crisis. So, at least I don't know. So anyways, I was going through an intently, actually it was a psychological crisis, sort of like when I was 13, but on a totally different level and about something differently. And it was for months that had been going on.
Yeah.
And I wanted freedom. I wanted control because I was feeling things that I didn't have any control over, that I didn't have any, and you know, they were painful things. And I just kept saying to myself, Lorna, I want, you know, I don't want to just be like this person that, you know, not a victim, that's not the right word. I don't want to just, I want to have freedom. Well, you know, I kept saying that to myself, wanting freedom, wanting, not really control, it was wanting freedom, you know, choice and that sort of stuff. But, so anyways, I was having one of these moments, you know, and so that night, and I'm in the truck, and we're at a rest area somewhere in Oregon. I don't know which rest area in Oregon. And, no, it wasn't Oregon, it was Idaho. It might have been Oregon, one of those places, either Oregon or Idaho. And, I get this sense to just meditate, you know, it's late at night, and it's like 11 o'clock, and I go, you know, I'm sitting up and I start meditating. And, apparently, because I don't remember what happened next physically, apparently I'm not going to use the word, I guess I fell asleep, I don't know if, but when I woke up, I wasn't in a meditative position anymore, I was laying down in my bed, so how did I get there, I don't remember, but, so the last thing I remember was meditating, and, I'm not going to call it a dream, because it wasn't a dream, it was an experience, but other people might call it a dream, which is fine, whatever.
Right.
I go to another place that's identical to Earth. Now, I don't know exactly what this is, whether it's another Earth or another globe, or another state, or it's another state of consciousness. And it's right here, right now. I'm waving my hand to that other place where I went. But anyway, it looked like everything we see right here. It looked like, you know, when I came back from it, I said, oh, it is like another Earth. or a new Earth or another Earth, some other place, but it was very different from here. Not in the sense of being different, because everything here was there. There was grass, there was trees, everything here was there. So, but the outstanding quality of that place was there was no pain of any kind.
Wow.
No physical pain, no emotional pain, no mental pain. Absolutely no pain.
Did you see people?
Yes, there were people.
And
but
were
not
they-
as many as here. Not nearly as many.
Did you have a sense, was there joy?
There was bliss.
There was bliss. People were smiling?
I don't know necessarily. There was animals, there was streams. I remember seeing a stream and some cows, and the sense I got was that the cows knew exactly what was going on with the other cow. They had complete
Telepathy.
oneness, telepathy,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing there, besides there being no pain of any sorts, was consciousness was clearer, deeper. I've always thought that in these other states or things that we have less consciousness because we don't have our physical brains and minds, but no, it was like there was a deeper, and the colors were more vivid and much more beautiful than here, you know, and
Even
oh yes,
wow.
just beautiful colors or whatever. Now I don't know what this is, something on the astral plane or one of the other planes. Where I'm
Yeah.
not going to try to say I know, but this was just the experience. And when I came back to my physical body in the state, you know, I found myself laying there, and I was just in utter bliss. You know, I was just smiling for no reason. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to do anything. I just was just reveling in this. And the outstanding characteristic, besides, you know, the no pain, was this greater sense of consciousness. When I woke up, supposedly, it was like going to sleep. When I was there, it was like waking up. And that's something
Wow.
that's really hard.
That's interesting. So
Yeah.
that's
And I cannot put it in words. It's only something you can experience.
that's incredible. But you had some spiritual awakening.
I'm not even going to say that. And that was the other thing. So many things that we let matter and think are so important. When you're in that state, they're so trivial, and it's like, it's no big deal. You know, even, I'm going to say this, a lot of people are going to disagree with me. Even if the world as we know it now was just gone, it's no big deal. It was nothing to be worried about. It is relative, but it was so, not necessarily inconsequential. It was just like, it was nothing to, you know, to get yourself into, I don't know how to explain it, but it was no big deal. You know, and a lot of people are like, oh my God, we can't say that it's no big deal if the Earth is destroyed tomorrow, because then we won't do anything to protect it. But there was a slight sense that, yes, but it's only relative. So apparently in that state, it's no big deal.
No, I know what you're saying.
And that world wasn't off somewhere else in outer space. It was right here, right now. I'm waving my hand through it right now.
Ah.
It's right in front of me. Right in front of me is that place I went to, or whatever, you know, it was. But, so I was in this bliss state for 3 days, actually. But 3 days, that's a long time, you know?
Wow.
So each time I went back to sleep, the next day when I'd wake up, it was a little less. And by the third day, I was barely feeling it at all. And now it's just a memory. It's just a sad memory. Not sad. It's sad that it's just a memory and I'm not experiencing it. And I thought it was going to last forever.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, oh, this is great, you know. And I was just walking around on cloud nine, and I was smiling, and I was just like, I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to write anything down. I was just reveling in this.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just so, you know, and nothing would really bother me, you know, but, you know, I did still feel, you know, if I started thinking about something, you know, I did have emotions, you know, and pain and that sort of thing, but, you know, in that state I didn't. There was no, but I had this heightened consciousness, you know, more consciousness. It was like so much clearer and more.
Yeah.
I've always thought the opposite. You know, I thought that when we go to sleep or something, we have less, but no, this is like going to sleep. I'm asleep right now. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
For those of you who would like to perhaps hear more from Rose, you are going to be presenting in Arizona.
Oh,
And
perhaps. It hasn't been
perhaps.
approved by the board.
So it's basically some idea you have.
But they
I'm
did. They
just
did
kidding.
give me
I'm just
permission. They did. Well.
Well, tell us about this.
Oh, yes. In Mesa, Arizona,
Yeah.
every year there is an annual, sort of like the Theosophical Convention, I guess. Yeah, convention or conference. And it's put on by the University of the Seven Rays and the Institute. Seven Ray. They have SRI, Seven Ray Institute.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. SRI. I always get those two mixed up. But anyways, it's a lot of it is theosophical, but mainly a lot of it's based upon Alice Bailey tradition or however you want to call it. And they talk a lot about esoteric astrology and some of the rays. And I think this next year it's going to be like April 13th or something. And it's a long conference. It's over a week, but you can go to whatever part you want to. And they have workshops and different presentations. And
Did you give the date? I mean, it's down.
I'm not going to...
Ballpark.
It's
like
April.
April. Okay. Will it be on the internet? Are they gonna...
Yes, they have a website, sevenray.net.
Okay, and will you be
And there's a schedule on
broadcast
there.
if you
I believe they
present?
do live.
Okay.
I'm not sure it's live streaming. Oh, I think it is.
Mhm.
I think, yes, they do live streaming of the conference.
And your topic, you're going to talk about...
If it's approved by the board,
uh-huh.
I may have to modify it. I don't know yet. I've got an outline of it written, the different parts. So how it's going to end up, I don't know. But if it is approved, it's going to be about the masters and theosophy, and I'm going to be relating theosophy. It depends on whether you understand much about the Bailey tradition, but I'm going to, relate the two. Because Alice, whatever you want to call them, Balianites, so somebody coined the term earlier.
Yeah. Over.
A Balianite, we won't mention his name, but anyways, he coined the term. So, they all highly respect theosophy and, see it as one continued tradition. And, there's not really different. I mean, there's a few differences, but... So anyways, I'm going to throw that in there, talk about the beginnings of Theosophical Society. And then I'm going to talk about, hopefully, the masters or adepts, however you want to term them, in... what I had wanted, which I don't know if it's going to be approved or how I have to modify it. The theme of it is, the theme of the conference is, I don't have it in front of me, but it's to do with the,
we can look it up too, and
yeah,
people can look it up.
okay,
But I just
I'm not
wanted to
gonna
let
quote-
people know that in case they
Yeah.
wanted to hear you talk
Yeah.
again.
They might seem,
yeah.
And they have a list of the speakers
Yeah.
on there, so you would see the date and the
Mhm.
time, and hopefully I'm going to get to do a workshop too.
Cool.
So I'm going to maybe do slides of the Mahatma letters, which I'm really thankful are now on Wiki, because that's going to help a lot.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to talk about, because some people have a perception of the adepts as, what are they? Or do they just sit and meditate all day? Or are they some ethereal beings that have wings? Or, there's, depending on people's backgrounds, there's, in my view, there could be a lot of lack of, sometimes they're portrayed without their personalities. And yes, that's true if you just look at their higher self, but while they have a body, they also have a personality, but yet they're so different from us and yet so alike. So I'm going to go into how they're different and how they're alike a bit, hopefully. And,
Yeah. And what do you think is the purpose of personality from the esoteric spiritual point of view?
Purpose? Well, apparently we were at one point, like they talked about today, these in Lemuria, we were, what they call them, God conscious. We're like half gods or something. And that we knew we were man gods, right? We knew that we still had this connection to our divine self, and we knew, and we weren't completely separated from it with a gap in consciousness like we are now. And I'm still trying to figure this out. And apparently, through that process, there's some type of, I don't know if self-awareness is the right way of consciousness becoming aware of itself, or conscious of itself, but it seems something like that. So, when we live in this duality world, apparently, in the whole process of individualization, we get this false identity, which can be related to the personality because we have nothing else to identify with until we start to understand our higher self, and somehow through that understanding and through intuitive understanding and building the antakarana, can reconnect. So it's sort of like uniting the higher with the lower. Something to do with that. So yeah.
So
the purpose of it, you know, it's serving as a vehicle for now. Yeah. How are you not gonna burn yourself with that again?
It's cold now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's been cold for about an hour, I think. And
You laughed in there.
no, I'm squeezing it out. And is this your first time in
Yes.
in Wheaton, in
Yes.
the Theosophical Society in America?
Yes, and my
how,
first
and what were your
conference.
impressions?
My first conference.
Pablo
as well.
took you down to the basement. You got to take
Yes.
photos.
Yeah.
Well, that's I don't. Let me rephrase that. We hold on. That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. We have a lot of great.
You have more books down there than up here.
Right. In some ways, the basement's a fascinating, library in and of itself. And he took you down there to look at the books.
Well,
and
he
take
took me
photos
down
of the
there
books.
to get the other volumes because you have extra volumes of the Olcott
Olcott.
diary leaves.
Oh,
so
that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, because they had extra and that they were
Yeah.
selling. So
Yeah.
took me down there to get those, which I thought nobody would be interested in. Can you believe that? Okay, so and then I started looking at all the other stuff and
and you've had a nice time walking around the grounds.
yes.
Yes.
Well, what I could say about this place is, like I mentioned earlier, the difference
Yeah.
between when you go off the grounds
Yeah,
and on the
energy
grounds.
here.
There's such a difference. And so my impression, you know, and part of the reason why I did want to come to a theosophical, what do we call this, conference or convention?
Conference.
Yes,
Oh, it could be a convention. I don't know.
Conference, was to get a sense of, you know, the whole thing, you know, of the people, because I've studied the material from an
Yeah.
internet point of view, and this
Yeah.
is a whole other aspect of it,
Yeah.
you know. So that helps complete my picture a little bit.
And the final question. Are you ready? Let's say Blavatsky. Say all of us are in the auditorium for this gathering, and Blavatsky walks in. She says,
Which gathering are you talking about?
This convention.
Okay.
The
we're all
the
up there
ITC,
now. Okay.
and everybody's there from
Okay.
the different theosophical organizations.
Oh, that's what I really enjoyed this whole unification thing.
Yeah.
It's certainly about time.
Yeah.
Way past time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Someday maybe even we can mend ways with Bailey. I would like, but
right.
you know, Pablo did tell me some stories that were a bit concerning. But I won't go into that. But anyways, that's something that, you know, the Baileyites have to make sure they mend on their end. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's not just a one-way street. Anyways.
Yeah, but this is what I think Blavatsky was about to say to everybody. And she walks in the auditorium and she says, look, you people, there's one thing I want you to focus on, or a couple things maybe. And she says, I just have a few seconds. In fact, wait, I have to go. But that young lady, and she points to you, Rose.
Okay.
She says, Rose will tell you what I want you to focus on for the next 20 or 30 years.
Oh wow!
As a group, and what?
So you want me to read Blavatsky's mind?
Her
100 and so many years later.
Yeah.
So you want me to read her mind?
Well, no. I want you to read the spirit of what you think her guidance would be, the intention, and
for the society.
For the
society.
For
and
the
people
collective
there?
society that isn't official, but like you said, potentially could be. Or
well, you know, I think she would go back to, you know, what she was striving for at the time. You know, of working as a brotherhood, and I think we're starting to. You know, how many years has it been? 100 and something.
Yeah.
So it's still something that's been a while coming, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and like they spoke about earlier, it all starts with your individual, with ourselves, because they're talking about how do we have world peace. You know, it does start at an individual level, and I think that goes back to understanding yourself. Know thyself. It's one of the first laws. Know thyself, and thou shalt know the universe. Right? Paulo said so. You know, what's that? The Oracle of Delphi or something. So, so what would she say? Would she say that? I would certainly put that as one emphasis to start with. And what else would she say? Wow. I can't speak for her, but I know. But
Then let's say
I don't
she
really
says
know what she would
says,
say.
you know what? I'm not
Okay.
going to give you the answers because it's important that you make up your own mind. So I'm going to walk out. But I
Yeah.
want that woman right there, Rose, to tell you
Okay.
what she would want for the
What I
society.
would
What
want.
would you want for the next 20 or 30 years?
And I think they're going this way, and perhaps maybe more so in some of the maybe the Europeans have. There's just the groups over there. I've been maybe a little bit because I've heard. I don't know a whole much about what they're doing, and but I've heard that apparently they've been having how do you say it? Group. All the
would
different.
it be interdenominational? I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
I mean, that's not the right
that
word,
spirit, right,
but
right,
yeah,
right,
that
yeah,
spirit,
yeah. They're communicating the
interdenominational-
different, the different
Yeah.
kind of groups are.
And coming from the internet of studying it, it's
Yeah.
all just one to me.
Right,
I
right.
didn't have any allegiance to any one or the other. And
Right.
I didn't even know when I decided to become a member, I didn't even know which one to join. Like, well, there's so many of them, So it's like, pick one. But, so for me, it's quite silly and trite. It's like, it's sort of like, it doesn't even, it's like two little kids wobbling or whatever. It's not such all for non-essentials.
Yeah.
So, but besides that, I think I would, I know there's the whole service order of service and that, so maybe I didn't hear too much about that in the conference, about
Right.
what we're doing on a social level in society. I mean, I know there's stuff going on and there is a big influence, but,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, would I
You
go,
think
would I go down
would that be what you would hope for? More of that?
And really, like for me again, I would say really, truly trying to come to an understanding of ourselves and our mask, our ejego, our personality. Because once you understand that and really see it in yourself, then you can transform, transmute, whatever you want to call it, transcend. Yeah, so I would emphasize that, re-emphasize that. And I'm not saying that people aren't doing that, but just, re-emphasize. Yeah. Not to say that we're all bad people.
No, I know.
Mask,
No.
It's a part of human nature, but, just to really know thyself. I just, I can't get past that part of it. And know thy higher self! Because that is just, a lot of it's just this vague concept. What is this Atma? What is this Buddhi? What is this higher self? So we gotta, and you can only know that to a certain level analytically. But, and I think it's through that analytical knowledge that we start to get to the intuitive understanding. And we get,
All right.
the blessings are
Okay.
right.
All right.
Okay.
You all right? So Rose, you were just finishing up. It was a really beautiful summary of what you would like for of unity.
Yes.
You want because I think we missed the last minute.
No, it got it.
Okay.
I think it got it.
Okay.
Before I heard the tape go
Okay.
click, so
And
really
so-
I can't re-summarize because it's best to just leave it as whatever's on there.
That's right. And so this is just a thank you
Yes.
and thank you for being here. It's really wonderful to learn from you and to
Yes.
meet you and hopefully online we can continue the
Mahatma letters.
development of your
Yes,
presence
yes,
here.
Yes.
And not to embarrass you, but I think you're going to be a great teacher in the
Probably,
future.
because I do think I'm second rate, and that is the line of teaching, so.
If she may say so herself.
And it is my natural inclination, even though, yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm thankful for the opportunity to have been able to express so much.
That's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
See you
Okay.
later.
And I gotta bust the catch.